Continuing the coverage of 100 Days of Trump, which have just been completed, I am pleased to have join me the Gateway Pundit, aka Jim Hoft, in the Gateway City, St. Louis. Jim, thank you for joining me, and thanks for all the great work you've been doing.
Thanks, Adam. Good to be with you.
I want to get to your analysis of the first 100 days, but I have to talk about Gateway Pundit specific, Gateway Pundit specific topic first, which is the fact that you have White House credentials, and a lot of people have noticed this, and they haven't exactly rolled out the welcome carpet for you. I guess it's really gotten under the skin of CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, among others, and I thought maybe you could just share that experience a little bit with the listeners right now.
I'd be glad to, and congratulations on your new show, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. If you look at the front of the Drudge Report today on Friday, they mention the Gateway Pundits, Lucian Wintrich, who the Hollywood Reporter today did an article on Lucian. Lucian is the White House correspondent for the Gateway Pundit, and I tell you what. Ever since I announced that I would have a White House correspondent, and this was at the Deplorable back during the inauguration, there has been so many articles written, Adam. I'm kind of stunned. It just continues and continues. So now we're at the end of April, and they're still writing articles. And this fresh article on Lucian Wintrich is up on the front of the Drudge Report, complete with a photo of Lucian.
Yep.
And
good photo, by the way.
It's a nice photo. Lucian is very charismatic and intelligent and interesting, very bright guy, and they just can't get enough of Lucian. So it's very interesting, but it's certainly I had no idea that just announcing this news would troll the media so hard.
Do you think they're really upset, or they're just looking for a story and there's a little bit of hamming it up, and the fact that Lucian is gay probably gets under their skin a little bit, or is it just them making a good story?
You know, that's a great question. I think what we've seen historically, and I've been in this game since about 2004, around that time. I've been writing daily at the Gateway Pundit since then. Built up a readership from two or three friends every day to during the election we were up to around 1 million readers a day. So I think part of it is in my history in conservative reporting. Part of it is the fact that they see someone who's a threat and they try to destroy him. Or else they'll build him up to destroy him. But I fear that this is what they're doing with Lucian. They don't know how to box this guy in as your typical racist, homophobe, Jew hater, all these things that they like to call conservatives, which of course is nonsense, but that's their game. They don't know how to box him in, so they're writing a lot about him. But I believe they would just love to destroy this guy, and so that's typically, in my experience, how the media operates.
I found it interesting that his biggest so-called incident was with a reporter not from MSNBC, not from the LA Times, but the guy who basically assaulted him was from Fox News, and it was written about by BuzzFeed, which is as if Fox News is the most threatened by him of all.
You know, that's really interesting, and this happened last month during a press briefing at the White House. The reporters, this is how it works. You go through security, you go into the room, there's a lot of waiting, and then you finally have the press conference. Well, before the press conference, this John Decker started screaming at Lucian and started accusing him of being a racist. And then he started pointing at the black reporters in the room, which of course is racist in itself. Yeah. And he's asking them how can they, how do they feel? And, they don't even know what this guy's talking about. He just came so unglued, and Lucian was startled. I mean, and as he should have been, I worked in HR for several years, and I know, and most people know, you just you can't behave that way in a work environment. You just can't be a bully. It's so funny, too, because the left says no bullying, and yet they're the biggest bullies we see in culture today. So this guy, she shouted at Lucian. He's on the board of the White House Correspondents Association, and he's been on this board for about 20 years. He's been with Fox Radio. I've never heard of the guy until, basically we went into the press room. And so, he's obviously he has a lot of pride in the fact that he's in this clique, and it is a clique. I read afterwards that they were all texting each other on their group text, about this incident, and they were all cheering John on because he just showed this racist his place. They also called, he calls Lucian an anti-Semite. Lucian's grandfather escaped Poland. He's a Jewish man. And, so the gall of him to call Lucian, an anti-Semite, basically knowing nothing about Gateway Pundit, just spouting off.
Interesting. And was there any discipline toward John Decker after this?
We contacted our lawyer, and I talked to some other people. And then I also sent messages to the White House, to a couple of top officials there in media relations, and complained. We never heard back. I think the White House, the Trump White House, they played it off as, it's kind of our battle. They're going to let us deal with it. I don't blame them for that. I think that was a smart move. They didn't want to alienate the press in that room, and so in fact, the next press conference, Sean Spicer called on this guy. So, kind of showing that he's in solidarity with them. Of course, that never works with the left, because they'll come back and bite you anyway. But we didn't even get a response. So we're still looking at some options, but I think we're pretty much moving on at this point.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have a couple minutes left, and we should probably get to the topic at hand, which is your evaluation of Trump's first 100 days.
Great, and we have this story today up on the Drudge Report. It's actually my twin brother Joe put this together. He worked on this for a few days, and of course the media is not going to tell us, Adam, what Trump has done that's good. We know that the media, 89% or so of the news they report on Trump is all negative. So we wanted to put together a list that shows just how good he's doing, and he's done a number of things, and we've already seen results. We see that housing sales are red hot. We see that illegal immigration is down 67%. We see that NATO spending, these countries are finally starting to pay their fair share. And we also saw, of course, that Neil Gorsuch is now on the Supreme Court. So there's been a lot of accomplishments and a lot of good results coming already. Of course, the media, the liberal media, the old news media, isn't going to report on that. What
would you say you've learned most about what President Trump has been up against? And not so much the Chuck Schumer's, look, we knew what he was going to be. We knew that he's the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. It's to be expected, but people you didn't expect who are sort of hurting him.
I think we've seen certainly with Congress has just been absent so far. And that's been very disappointing. And we see that a lot of these people, we called them never-Trumpers during the campaign. They seem to speak out against Trump every chance they could. We're still seeing a lot of those never-Trump Republicans speaking out still about this president, and that's very disappointing. It's certainly something I'm not going to forget. But it's amazing that he's really taking fire from all sides, and the strength of this man to just, push forward despite all of this.
In the last minute or so that we have here, what advice would you give to President Trump for the next 100 days and beyond?
I would advise President Trump to keep, pushing ahead. I'm hoping in this next 100 days that he's going to have to challenge Congress to get him the legislation that he needs to sign. Congress has been absent. They need to get the tax cuts through. They need to get Obamacare repealed and replaced. And he needs to start hammering these Republican leaders if this does not happen.
Jim Hoft, the Gateway Pundit, thanks for all the great work you do. I will mention that that yours is basically my default for news. It's done chronologically, and it's just every article is the right amount of length. So I advocate people bookmark it, and it's been nice talking to you as well.
Thanks, Adam. Good luck.